Friends, Brian here from Middle Age Mind and Muscle. How the hell are you guys doing? What is the holy grail for most people with deadlifting? The holy grail, what is it? It's a question I have been asked many times over the years. It is, how do I get a 700 pound or over 700 pound deadlift? We're going to talk about that today, folks. I've had a few people in the comments in my videos ask me about that. I've been asked about that a few times in the past. So hold on. We are going to really delve into this, and don't be a douchebag. Watch the video right till the end. Thanks. That's probably not a nice way to ask someone to watch the video. Anyway, you know, people get so offended these days. Anyway, so back in my day, when I started really getting into working out, late 80s, early 90s, nobody knew what the hell a deadlift was. You'd have to be a real serious hardcore lifter to know what a deadlift was. Back in those days, you know what people used to judge you by? They used to say, how much you bench? People had an idea of what a bench press was, although they'd always say, how much you bench? And they would do that, and you'd be kind of like, what the fuck are you talking about? Anyway, so, you know, now in more recent times, probably the most popular lift now is the deadlift. And I guess we owe a thank you to CrossFit for doing that. So thank you to all the CrossFitters out there for making deadlifting popular. So let's talk about a few things first. And number one, let's talk a little bit about what people hate to hear, but genetics. In another video, I talked a little bit about how one day, a few years back, this kid who was on 3 grams of testosterone a week. Yeah, you want to talk about side effects, my friend? He asked me one day, he said, man, I wish I could deadlift like you. How come I can't? And I was trying to be very nice about it, but genetics do play a role, somewhat, of course. Are you going to be able to deadlift like Hathor or Brian Shaw or Mitchell Hooper? Anyway, so we are going to do a technique comparison. I am going to show you guys, if you guys that have been following my channel, you guys know I was into lifting as a teenager, early 20s. Later on in my 20s and my 30s, life got in the way. I started taking on other people's problems. Don't do that in life, folks. Focus on you. Focus on you, what you need to do, your health and happiness, and invest your money when you're young, right? It's a good thing to do because, you know, people with a lot of problems, they'll make their problems your problems. Anyway, I digress. So let's watch my first actual deadlifting 700 video. It's very disgusting. It's very nasty. I think I was about 45 here. I really got back into lifting in my 40s, and very quickly I got stronger, and I had no technique at all. This is probably one of the ugliest deadlifts you'll ever see. But we're going to watch it, and we will critique it. And then I'm going to show you the video where I did my personal best, which was 675 for a triple. But I had, in other times, deadlifted over 700. But let's take a look at this here. So here I am using wrist straps. Now, again, there's going to be people out there saying, oh, wrist straps. Well, if you're not training for a competition, why the hell would you risk tearing your bicep? Doing the conventional over-under. I talk at length about this on another video. Plus, I give some tips in that video of how to not tear your bicep doing conventional. But if you ever see someone blow out their bicep deadlifting, it's not nice. It's not a fun injury, and it is a pain in the ass. So when you're training, I often encourage people to use wrist straps. And then if you're training for a competition, then you can prep your body, prep yourself for using conventional over-under. If I was to do it again, you know, there's still that little flicker. You know, I said, why I don't deadlift anymore. Seriously deadlift. At my age, I went into that in another video, but, you know, there's still that little flicker in my gut. I'm like, man, just do hook grip. Just do hook grip. Just, you know, go pull a 700, you know, in your 50s. Then just say, hey, there you go, I'm done. Hook grip, if you're taught properly, it takes a little bit to get into. It's very painful, but if you do your hook grip and you do it right, it's a wonderful thing. You don't have to worry about tearing your bicep. And, you know, it's like, hey, I'm going to pull this up. It's going to hurt if you already accept the pain before you do it. But when you get comfortable with it, it's not so bad. I was making great strides with my hook grip. And as I was training for my potentially last competition, unfortunately I had my 4th pec tear, I was doing pretty good with it. I was very confident of being able to pull over 700. But just due to COVID and some life circumstances, that didn't happen. and also turning my pec. But again, I'm big on using hook grip now. If I was to do it again, I would work on your hook grip. Video for another time. If you are an over-under deadlifter and you are getting stronger, I would encourage you to go back and watch my video of straps versus no straps deadlifting, so I can give you some tips there to help you not tear your bicep, because it's a nasty injury. So moving on from that, so I'm using wrist straps here, so let's look at this disgusting technique. So right there, you can see my legs are spread pretty wide. No, that's bad. Don't do that. I'm doing everything possibly wrong here. This is hard for me to. This is just pure brute strength. Thank God I didn't hurt myself. Yeah. That's what that was. Okay, so if we go back, I can see so many things that I'm doing wrong. Okay, so now let's go to the video where I'm actually doing it properly, and we will go from there, and I can point out a lot of things, and plus give you guys maybe some tips that you haven't heard of for developing your deadlift that a lot of people don't know about. So here we go. Oh God, I gotta watch myself. Late 40s, deadlifting 700 for reps. There's a lot here to talk about, a lot here to discuss. Okay, so first thing is, when you watch the second video, okay, you have weight, you have body mass. The first video, I'm not even using my body momentum properly. I'm just kind of bullying the weight up. A lot of people don't know this. So I see a lot of guys that are stuck in the 500-600 pound range. When I'm deadlifting, okay, and you can see it more, I'm deadlifting a lot of weight there, but you can kind of see it a bit more in the second video. I'm actually slightly rocking back onto my heels as I'm pulling the weight up. So I'm actually using my body momentum with me, right? Your body has weight to it. Use your weight. Let it help you with let it help you pull the weight up. A lot of people don't realize that. Another thing, if we go back and we watch that video, my elbows are turned. They're tucked in and locked, okay? The other one, they're just flaring out like this. It's like, no, man. Tuck them in. My form, I lift too, like the front of my foot is slightly lifted as I'm getting ready to rock with the motion of pulling that up. It took a while to master that. My posterior chain is so much stronger there. So before I was just bullying the weight up, I didn't really know what I was doing. And then I got some proper direction, okay? Part of what I did is, there's a couple of different chapters of that, but one of the things I did was I went to Ohio. I spent like a weekend training at the sweatshop in Cincinnati with Shane Sweat. For those of you that don't know, Laura Phelps had trained there. She was the world's strongest female powerlifter. Shane Sweat came up on West Side. He was basically like Louis Simmons' kid. And, I was, over that 2 or 3 days with Shane, I learned more than a lifetime of just trying to figure it out on my own. Here we are in Cincinnati, Ohio at the sweatshop. How are you doing, Shane?
How's it going?
Good, good. Mr. Shane Sweat?
Yep.
Nice to meet you. He really showed me, in a very nice way, how small I was in the powerlifting world and how little I knew. And that 3 days, you could not put a dollar value on the education I got from him. Through him, I also learned about the posterior chain. I learned about how I was quad dominant, and I needed to really get my posterior chain stronger. How did I do that? Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. I was big on using the reverse hyper machine. I learned how to use it properly. We got a reverse hyper. Oh, how I've missed you. That played a big part in helping my posterior chain, but I also was big on hyper extensions, on back hyper extensions, and I see a lot of people, there's different ways you can do them too. Once you get used to using your body weight, I like to flare my feet out. When I was doing that, I felt that was more effective with working the muscles in my lower spine. There's different ways you can do this, and I became a very big believer that of changing your routine up a lot. I guess part of it was from the conjugate method of rotating in and out different exercises, which I do to my training now, although I'm not training for powerlifting anymore. But I just find I get better results doing that. So if you look at something like the back hyperextension, okay, a lot of guys would just kind of go up and do it. I like to do it going up, doing it properly, and holding myself there for a few seconds, and then back down. Hold, really getting the muscle tissue to fire, back down. Hold. Now, of course, eventually you're going to get to a point where your body weight is too easy. So then we can get into maybe using rubber bands and elevated resistance, doing the same thing, but holding at the top, using a plate across your chest, holding the weight up top. Also, do a timer. One of the variables that I like doing that I learned from Shane too is throw a timer in. Like instead of always just going heavier, reps, say, okay, take a 25-pound plate or a 45-pound plate, whatever. Go up and hold and have someone with the timer saying, hold it for a minute. Your body has to respond. So I was big on getting the lower back, and my posterior chain as strong as possible. Another thing that I like to do that I learned from Shane was belt squat marching, okay? This shit will show you how small of a lifter you really are with getting your glutes and your lower back really, really strong. Of course, I really train my hamstrings hard. Video edit, I want to also mention to you guys that I was never big on doing rack pulls. I might have done a few sets of rack pulls in my entire life. I was really big on heavy rows, especially bent over rows. So very routinely, I'd be doing reps with 405 or more. But one of the things I did, I was very fortunate for a few years where I lived. I trained at an amazing gym it was just such an amazing facility. They had a monolift there. They had everything for strongman competitions. They had everything you needed. And I would do these like girly exercises with bands to strengthen my hip muscles. And sometimes I would hide behind the big tires so all the alpha strong men that were there, they didn't see me, but they'd be the same guys saying, dude, how do I get my deadlift like that? And here I am doing my little girly exercises with the bands to get my hips really strong. Now, some of these exercises, if you go back in some of my old videos from a few months ago where I'm going, let's say hip workout, very important. So all the muscles in your hips, a lot of people, they neglect because they don't know. So again, your body's like a suit of armor. You're going to deadlift. Well, what's the weakest in the chain? If there's a weakness there, it can really, maybe it'll take off a couple 100 pounds off your deadlift, or 100 pounds or 50 pounds. So you're not really hitting your potential. So these are things that a lot of people don't know about. Again, another group that I trained with for a while, Montreal Barbell. I think the name has changed because some people went to a different camp and started. And what's really sad, I'd like to say here, is a couple of people. There was a couple that ran it, and I missed them. I thought they were really good people. I missed their friendship, but due to me leaving and certain things going on, there's politics involved, and anybody that knows powerlifting knows that there's goddamn politics all the time. Which is one of the things why I love the training, I love the sport, but I just don't like the politics of it. It really gets old and exhausting very quickly. So, but when I train there, again too, using the chains, using the bands. The problem with chains is that they're a pain in the ass. Of course, the resistance curve changes. It deloads as you go up, where with bands, it loads as you go up. I'm a big believer in using resistance bands. They're portable, they're handy. You can vary your resistance very quickly. Chains are always a pain in the ass. You got to add chains. You got to take them off. You got to move them around. Anyone who's worked with chains and bands knows what I'm talking about. So getting a better deadlift, you got to sit back and look at the whole picture. And, you know, there's a lot of really bad coaches out there. Maybe put some money aside and go train with a good coach. Someone who is good. You know, like maybe you have to travel somewhere. Maybe you have to put some money aside to travel, stay overnight somewhere for a weekend. Hell, I would train people, you know, but I live out in the middle of nowhere. So who the fuck's going to come here out in the middle of nowhere? They'll be like, on GPS, they're going, where the fuck is this guy? I can't fucking find him. Yeah, not a good one today, folks. I'll be glad to get the groceries and be heading home. Where is he? He's the fourth igloo on the left. But, you know, you want to get better. You know, sometimes you got to get out in the world and really see where you are. And for those of you out there who think that you're the big fish in the little pond, even now, where I train sometimes, you know, like I keep to myself, but I'll see a few guys, you know, I try and be as nice as I can. I really try and mind my own fucking business. But, you know, they think that they're the fucking God's greatest gift. They think that they're the shit in the area. And it's like, dude, like you're fucking nobody. You're like, go to Montreal and train. Go to Ohio and train. You'll see that you're nothing really quick. And it's very humbling, but it will make you a better lifter. So in a nutshell, because this is a topic I can talk about at length, these are some things to think about with your deadlifting, trying to get your deadlifting better. Of course, there'll be a lot of people that are like, steroids. What's steroids? Well, there's a lot to deadlifting, and, you know, taking steroids or not might be a fraction of that. But your technique, how you train, you know, guys, get the fuck off your phones. Like, Jesus Christ, man. Okay? You guys know it drives me nuts when people worry about fucking steroids and who's on them and not, and all they do is talk about it, and I see them and they're on their fucking phones when they're training. Fuck off. Shut the fuck up. Just fucking train, man. Okay. Geez, guys, maybe I'm not just on TRT anymore. What do you guys think? I just like... Anyway, so that in a nutshell are some things to think about when it comes to how to improve your deadlift. I hope this helps, guys. Comment below. If you hit subscribe, I'll be eternally grateful. And, you know, have a great day. And remember, this is my therapy.